Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Joel Beya, and I'm here back on 5. And I have a special guest today, a respected journalist who I absolutely love to bits. And I know you guys watch him. And if you don't, please make sure that you check the links in the description. Top guy, Mr. Julien Laurens from ESPN. How you doing? You okay?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for coming into the studios. You know, really like it. We've got more work that we're doing coming up in the future as well. So it's brilliant for the channel. You are an absolute gem to the football industry, man.
Thank
we
you
really
very
appreciate
much.
you.
Thank you.
I want to turn around on a particular topic that I saw the audience talking about. There's a lot of animosity against the Glazers. Now, I don't make a secret. As an Arsenal fan, you know, I sometimes don't really understand the situation because in one hand, I know that they've been taking out money, but at the same time, when Manchester United have needed players, they've actually gone out and got them.
That's true.
You know, you're looking at Jadon Sancho. He weren't cheap. That's 80 million right there. You know, a few years ago, you had Fred. You had Varane last season. You had, Maguire. You know, even to bring back Ronaldo on wages, you know, alone. Obviously, maybe the initial transfer itself wasn't that expensive, but the wages. So I'm thinking they're not shy. They're going out to buy players. Yes, they've been a bit, you know, smart with the prices of, you know, Tyrell Malacia, etc. But they're inexperienced, so there's you know, they at least they didn't get ripped off for it. What is the situation with the Glazers? What is going on? Why are there the marches? I was at the game on Sunday. I saw marches. What is actually going on?
Well, I think there's more unrest and discontent against the Glazers from the United fans for many reasons. The first one is that I think we have to be honest here. The Glazers failed. They failed by keeping United at the top of not just English football, but European football as well, which pretty much they were when they arrived, let's say, when they bought the club. So they failed in whatever they were trying to do, they failed. If they were trying to use United just to make money and as a business, which they did for a long time because they obviously bought the club by bringing debt onto the club, not onto themselves. They borrowed money via the club to buy the club, which, again, I don't think should have been allowed at the time. And I don't think would be allowed right now. But this is what happened. So now we have to deal with it. But the thing is, they have taken a lot of money from the club as dividends for themselves, while the club was making a lot of money. But now the club makes less money because there's obviously, for example, less Champions League football. There's less trophies won. There's less money coming from sponsorship deals. And now United would need the Glazer to put their own money in now. They are billionaire. They're a billionaire family. They're one of the richest families in the world. But they don't put any of their money in. And I think that shows the limit of their ownership. You understand why fans are not happy because the results are not there anymore. And they don't run the club on a daily basis, the Glazers. They're not there every day, either at Carrington or Old Trafford every day to run the club. They've got people in place to do that. But still, it's their responsibility, it's their club. And to see United falling down more and more year after year, doesn't seem to bother them, really. And that's why I think the fans really care, because I don't think the Glazers care, but the fans really care. And they're alarmed by the fact that the Glazers are just letting this club going down. They're letting Old Trafford being more and more vetused and old and not refurbishing it or not doing anything about the stadium. And even in terms of transfer policy, they're just letting this club being the joke of Europe, really.
Now, I'm going to go back to the transfer policy because there's a lot to discuss there with everything that's happened within the last 48 hours, etc. When you're talking about things like reinvestment into the stadium, I have to be honest with you, from a medium standpoint, it's very important. But that doesn't reflect on the issues that's been on the pitch, right? You know, even if you fix the stadium, it doesn't mean that Man United's fortunes are going to tell.
True. But as a football club and one of the biggest football clubs in the world, your stadium is also what people see. This is also your window of like, so there's a few things. Usually you build a new stadium because you want something bigger than what you had, or because the one that you had before was too old. So Highbury, White Hart Lane, and you know the list can go on. Yeah. Or so either you build a brand new modern one, or like Liverpool, and they've been a bit lucky in a way to be able to extend and refurbish on field the way they did to make it the stadium that it is now. But Old Trafford, the problem was because it's the biggest club stadium in England, the tickets money kept going in because it sell out all the time. So you thought, okay, why would we need to refurbish it? It works fine like this. It brings the money in. We don't need a brand new one because this one is big enough. Okay, that's fine. But it gets to a point where it's too old. I mean, I've literally seen leaks everywhere. It rains and the water pours off the roof and the top of Old Trafford. This is not a club like Manchester United cannot have a stadium in that state, in a way. And I think it's just, maybe you're right. Maybe it's not so important, but still, I think it's very important in the way that it shows that the Glazers have just neglected the stadiums. They've neglected the club, in my opinion. They've neglected the squads, because even if they've made money available, there was money available from within the club to go and buy Sancho and Maguire and spend money, etc. They still haven't looked enough after their squads like they should have. And
when you say looking after their squads, I understand that a lot of fans are not happy because some of the situations are still not sorted. The McFred situation. I mean, Man United are turning their attentions to Rabiot because they failed to get Frankie de Jong. Yeah. They haven't fixed the McFred situation. No. But it looks like this is what they're coming in with. It's even from an outside looking in, it doesn't look like it's enough. And it looks a bit weird because you've got a disjointed changing room as it is. If you're trying to bring an Arnautovic, fair enough, that's not happening anymore. Yeah. But you got Rabiot, who doesn't come with a great reputation, and obviously because of him as a person, and his mum as well, who's his agent, who is known to be difficult. Mm-hmm. Now, you're the journalist here, and you've got the inside info, but I've had info from people where they've said that he would get dropped. There's been occasions where he's been dropped by PSG, and mum's calling. Why is he not playing? You know, leaving the manager with not a lot of power. You know? No. What is he going to come and do if things are not going right at Man United? We've already seen Ronaldo's not really too keen on listening to Ten Hag. You know, some of the players' attitudes are not right. Are they trying to fix the situation or make it worse?
It's a good point. I think when you sign a player, you don't just look at what he can bring you on the pitch and his profile as a footballer, but also how he will be outside of the pitch, in the relationship with people, in his attitude and etc. That has to take in consideration. The biggest thing for me is the lack of recruitment strategy and transfer strategy at this club, which is baffling because, again, we're not talking about AFC Wimbledon here. We're talking about Manchester United. And I think there's a point where you don't want a sporting director. Okay, I kind of understand it. I've certainly for a long time. Then you appoint John Murtough with Darren Fletcher. Okay, why not give them a chance? But when you are on August the 7th and you are targeting Marko Arnautovic, which screams like a 31st of August, we need a striker, what can we do?
Igalo.
Exactly, Igalo. And even Adrien Rabiot, as much as I love him, he's a Paris-born and bred kid like me, this desperation. It is desperation to go for Marko Arnautovic at this stage of the summer. And it clearly shows that you've got no plan, that you are clueless, that you've got no idea on what you want, who you should go for, and what you should give to your manager. And I think Erik Ten Hag used to work in a structure at Ajax where everything was well structured, again, to take the word. And structure is the word that doesn't exist right now at Manchester United. It doesn't exist at football level, at the office level, nothing. There's no structure. This club is going nowhere with no direction, no structure. And the transfers are exactly the same. You go for a Benjamin Sesko, who is a great talent, young, promising player. He snubbed you to go to Leipzig in a season time. You try for Frankie de Jong. You chase Frankie de Jong for 8 weeks. The whole summer, 8 weeks. At some point, just let go and have another target. I can name you 50 players that are better than McFred that United can have signed. Look at Fabian Ruiz. PSG are going to sign Fabian Ruiz from Napoli. 1 year left on his contract, around 20 million euros. It's a bargain. He's 26 years old. He's tall, he's left-footed, he's strong, his passing is crisp, he's perfect. He would be such a great Ten Hag player. How come United never even thought about him? This is crazy. And we can take, many other examples. And I don't want to to play the blaming game too much here, because this is the situation. This is where they are.
It has to be said, because even if you look at the Paul Pogba situation, you bought him for 80 mil. No, you let him go first of all, then you bought him back for 80 mil, right? And then you let him go for free, and then you're then going for Rabiot. So he can't even get into the French, first team. Yeah. So what are we replacing with? What's going on here? And I look at that, but would you blame the Glazers because of the people that they've put in charge in that situation?
Yeah, I think so. I think Ed Woodward was a mistake, and certainly was a mistake for too long in the position that he was. I think Richard Arnold has just arrived and just starting, and I was happy to give him time and a chance. From what I've seen so far, it's not good enough for my liking, and I'm not even again a United fan anyway. But from what I'm hearing and what I can see and what I can gather, this is not good enough right now. And I think if you're Erik Ten Hag, not only you saw the limits of your squad and your players against Brighton, but then surely day after day, he must realize, what a mess the whole club is right now. I mean, Harry Maguire didn't even know which way they should stand in the tunnel before the game. And I think Ten Hag is trying to change things, and even little things that maybe things can have an impact. So you change the dugout instead of the usual United dugout, home dugout. He moved to the other one on the other side. He wants the players to arrive earlier at the ground when it's the home game to get together earlier. I think this is all nice to me, but for me that doesn't mean anything, because the biggest part of the problem is that it's a mess. I think the squad is a mess. I think that, again, transfer policy is a mess. I think there's a lot of things at the club that are a mess. And I think he can change anything he wants. The food on the table, the chairs, the time you arrive at the ground,
the grass,
the dugout, the grass, the showers, anything he wants. This is nothing compared to the work he has to do on the pitch and that the club has to do within the offices.
Now, when you're looking at the Glazers situation, there's a lot of talk about the money that they're bringing out. The fans are not happy. They're taking home money, etc. If they sell, they're then going to be able to make a lot of money, and then the club's not really in debt anymore, right?
Yeah. That's certainly the debts will have to be paid off by whoever buys the club.
It'll be clear. Well, it should be clear. I mean, it should be, right? Is that their strategy? Do you think? Is that why you think they don't mind taking out the money, or do you reckon it's just part of the business? It's just you know?
No, I think that the idea is to use United, and I'm sorry, it's hard to hear if you're a United fan, as a cash cow. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, cash cow, yeah.
This is it. The money is here, let's take it. Let's take it. When you think the way they bought the club and put the debts on the club, I mean, this is crazy. And now they kept taking year after year money off the club as their own profit, as their own dividends. It's crazy, and that's why would they sell? They don't care if there's Champions League football or not Champions League football. If the fans are happy or not happy, they don't seem to care either. They don't seem to care too much about the results. All they care about is the money coming in. Cool, we're going to take our chunk of it, and that makes them happy. The thing where the problem I have, Joe, is that there's a lot of very, very rich people who love Manchester United, who really, really dearly love the club, who support the club since they were kids, love the club, not like the Glazers. Move forward, come forward. Make an offer. Try it. A club doesn't have to be sold because it's on the market, because it's for sale. You can try to buy a club even if right now the club is not for sale. Go and tempt the Glazers. Say, okay, I'll offer you 4 billion, 3.5 billion. What are you going to do? 4 billion. You say no to 4 billion pounds? If Chelsea was sold for 4 billion, United can be easily sold for 4 billion as well.
Or more.
Or more, even.
To be honest.
Yeah. So I want to see those people. I mean, I wish you and I could afford it. But, right, maybe in 6 months or a year. But I want to see those people, rich people who love United. They are there. Go and try to tempt the Glazers to sell. Because if you want to save your club, you have to act now. And you have to move in now and say, you know what, the Glazers, thanks but no thanks. Now it's time for you to go. Here is 5 billion. 5 billion on the table here. You bought the club for $1 billion, I think it was. This is 5 billion just for you in your pocket. But please leave my club alone, and I'm going to take it back to the top.
Now, the question is, though, is there a long-term strategy to sell, do you reckon? Or
I don't think so.
No?
I think the only way they would sell is that if the cash cow is
no longer
it's a baby cow.
Is no longer a cash cow anymore.
It's a baby cow anymore.
But that's really unlikely because Man United is such a brand. So what I learned, what Ed Woodward was doing was, for example, when he was tying down these players to new contracts, it's easy. Let's just say you give Martial a new contract, etc. When you go to sell it commercially, what they're seeing is the value of the contract, which then allows them to get more money commercially, because you can say, look, this person's worth this person. He's just signed a new contract, even though really and truly his performances on the pitch are showing something else. And obviously there's no trophies being won. But from a business perspective, they're going and putting these numbers on paper, and that's where they were going to make their commercial money. But I think in the long term, after a while, people will go, hang on a minute, even though we've been giving you this commercial money, there is no real return. There's no real return in sales. There's no real return in, like if it's online watch time. There's loads of different things that people are going to start clocking onto when it comes to metrics. Is this when United will sell, or are they, what's going on?
It's interesting because I think there are signs that the money is going to dry out unless something big changes, i.e. they go back to the top and they win trophies again, which, let's be honest here, don't want to be too pessimistic, but doesn't look like in the near future, certainly. So if the money starts to dry out, it'd be very interesting to see then what the Glazers do and what they would want to do. But, main sponsor, kid sponsor from Chevrolet to Team Viewer, they took less money.
Really?
Yeah, it looks like the next one could be less again. If there's no Champions League, let's say that they don't qualify again for the Champions League in the next 5 years. That's a lot of money gone. Because for a long time, the money coming in for the Champions League, and because they were always on television, because it's one of the biggest clubs in the world, that will dry out as well. So then I think it will be very interesting to see what happens. But again, that might not be for the next 5 to 10 years. I don't think the Glazers should still be at United in 10 years' time or even 5 years' time. I think they should be out of there. For the sake of the football club, and for the fans, that they should not be allowed to be there in 5 years or even less in 10 years.
My last question is, can you give us an example of a club that is run really well in Europe that the audience would be familiar with, and briefly what their structure is versus what we're currently seeing?
Yeah, I think Bayern Munich for me is the best example in a different culture of football, because it's the 50+1 rule, of course. So you can't have an owner with more than 50% of. They cannot own the club for 100% like the Glazers again, or the Kroenke or Roman Abramovich or now Todd Boehly, stuff like that. So you need to be clever in the way you run your club. You can't do silly things. You can't take huge dividends, for example, because that doesn't happen like this, like the Glazers do. And I think Bayern and a lot of what is happening in German football, although it's not perfect, but I think is a healthy way of running a football club. And that's why they've got far less debts than other clubs in other countries, for example.
Julien, you have been absolutely amazing
Thank
today.
You for having
You've
me.
supplied us with the knowledge, especially for someone like myself who I just wanted to be educated, and you've been able to provide that. Hopefully you guys felt the same. Please let us know what you think in the comments. We are listening to your comments. I think Rio wanted to come here and sit down and also sit down with you, but he couldn't be here at the moment because he also feels it.
Yeah,
he really does. I know some people might not understand, but he's as hurt as the other United fans. And yesterday, I almost felt sorry for him. Not too much, but I felt sorry for him a little bit.
Must have been painful. First of the season, and you lose like that.
But so for me, it's just been brilliant to have you sitting down here. Please make sure you follow Julien. The socials are in the description, and also ESPN as well. We like to have you back. We've got another video coming out with Bernardo Silva as well, and Barcelona. The guys can look forward to that. We're going to record that soon, and I'll see you soon. Peace.